Do we have a quorum? You want to lead the pledge?
Sure, Madeline's, you know.
I'll call the meeting to order, and I'm sorry, but I lost my voice. This is wonderful compared to the way it was over the weekend, so I'm hoping that you'll be able to hear me. Do you have the roll call? And so there's two of the counselors are up there, but not the third. Is that correct? Okay. And now we're going to have the invocation by Father Hale from St. John's Episcopal Church. If we'll stand, please.
Let us pray. O generous Creator, you created this land upon which we live, and we are enormously grateful for all that it offers to us. It is a place that offers us beauty, sustenance, and shelter. This place where we live together with friends and family. When you created this land and placed us in it, you called upon us to be good stewards of the land, that it might be fruitful, that it might be a place where we and all your creatures thrive. Lord, we have come to know that the decisions that we must make regarding how best to use the land are not always obvious. Sometimes it seems that different needs conflict with each other. Give us, and especially our city councilors, the wisdom we need to use the land so that everyone has a good and safe place to live. Help us to know how to make affordable housing available to all our people, while also providing for the quality of life in our community. We care deeply for this land, its people, and all its creatures. Help us know how to care for them all. Amen.
We'll have a pledge of allegiance led by Councilor Chris Powell.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The next item on the agenda is the presentation by Harv Shabothi. You want to come up front, Harv?
Madam Mayor, councilors, I'm happy to be back here again to recognize still another one of the volunteers who contribute so much to our community. This one is one that you recently appointed to your planning commission. So you know a little bit about his background, but Tom Marcy is our volunteer of the month. Just sharing real briefly, and again, I think you folks just reviewed his background not more than a month or two ago. But for those in the audience and who are streaming, Tom, I think, has a passion for walking and hiking, and a lot of his volunteer work kind of started that way. With the South Coast Striders, Tom gets involved in their events. He also maintains their website. So that's really how he got kind of started in this volunteer world. But he uses some of those skills in terms of guides and so forth for some other organizations. He also has a passion for history. The History Museum here in Bandon has used his talents to do not only the walks, but some of their maps and tour guides. The folks up in Coos Bay, likewise, the museum up there has taken advantage of Tom and Tom's abilities. We have with the Greater Bandon Association, we've been mapping places that might be used as community gathering places here in town. Tom has done some work for us in the design committee in that regard. but he's also taken on some leadership roles in some of those organizations with regard to Greater Bandon. He is part of our board of directors now. The Friends of Public Health up in Coos County. Likewise, he has played a leadership role there, serving on that board. And now has again stepped forward in this community to serve the city as a volunteer on the Planning Commission. So Tom Morrissey is our Volunteer of the Month. Tom, we, as usual, have a commemorative pack to recognize your work with the community. And we know you like to do a lot of outdoor and hiking kinds of things. You might find use of this gift certificate from the Cobbler's Bench.
Thank you, I always do.
Madam Mayor, could someone take a picture for Harv?
What? I
Very
just took 10 of them,
Oh, sorry.
but yes, the answer is yes. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the hearing. Public hearing for type 3 request to amend the abandoned zoning map for public facility and parks to residential 1 and the comprehensive plan map from open space to urban residential. And I need to know if anyone in the audience or on Zoom is here to testify on this issue. Anyone? If not, that means we don't have to read a lot of the things that I'm having a very difficult time reading. So we'll have the staff report.
Sure, happy to, and I'll try to make it quick. So this is the second public hearing on the matter. The Planning Commission heard this at their March meeting rather. This is a request to rezone a piece of property that is 2.92 acres. It's owned by the school district. The city has taken on the effort to do the rezone. I have it up here for you because at the Planning Commission meeting, there was some question about where it was actually located on that property, and it was hard to tell from the plat map. So that's what I'm referencing. So I'll just go through the staff report in some brief detail. The change of the zoning only adds additional uses. The only use that it takes away is small scale commercial, but it's replaced by a number of other commercial uses that are still available to the property as R1. As part of the comprehensive plan map change that we had to make, we did have to do some goal findings. So goal 7 related to natural hazards. We would let you know that there's a small section of the property that has a moderate landslide susceptibility. However, that doesn't trigger our geologic assessment review requirements. It's also located outside of the floodplain, and it doesn't have any wetlands on it. Goal 10 related to housing. There are a couple comprehensive plan policies that we had related to that. So to encourage development of adequate housing for residents of Bandon in order to meet their needs and in order to provide security and enjoyment, and make available adequate, integrated, reasonably priced quality housing subject to regulations, which would ensure aesthetics and protection of the natural environment. The comprehensive plan also had a really interesting section in it about providing more housing and locations that exist between those seeking ease of access to schools and shopping areas. This is just a really perfect example of being extremely close to the school and a shopping area. We also made some findings in there related to goal 5, and that would be the open space policy. So because we're taking some land out of our open space section on our comprehensive plan map, we did just add in the Johnson Creek Greenway, which is 37 acres. And so this being 2.92 coming out, there's still an overall net positive. We've gotten the beginning sort of technical data from our housing needs analysis, which shows that we do have plenty of residential land inside of our urban growth boundary and city limits. However, not all of them have shovel-ready projects or ones that are sort of getting there. The ultimate goal with this property is to create housing that can house our workforce. So the school, the police department, those sorts of folks around here. So the planning commission, like I said, they reviewed this and they recommended approval. The city council is the ultimate approving body here. So it's your decision. And Dan maybe has some more.
I just want to add a couple things. I think city council knows this, but I like to add it for folks that are watching. So this is a joint project between the city and the Bandon School District. So if you look at the map above on the screen, the city owns 1, 2, 3, 4 lots to the west, and also a large kind of polygon shaped lot a little bit to the east. Just south of the youth center. So it's actually quite a large piece of property. The city's doing this under a memorandum of understanding with the school district. This is part of a larger property that we're working on together. We're having geotechnical work done. We're getting a existing conditions survey done. We're really getting it ready to send an RFP out and get it developed or ready for development by the fall.
Good. I will ask if there's any counselors present or on Zoom who wish to declare ex parte contact or a site visit.
I've driven by it.
Okay.
I drive by it almost every day.
Does anyone wish to challenge the participation of any member of the council to hear this matter? Okay, well, I asked if anyone wanted to testify on it, and nobody raised their hand, I'm going to close the hearing and let the council deliberate.
I have a question, Dana. You
Yes.
said that part of the property could be a possible slide area. I'm looking at the map on your screen. I don't know what part of the property that would be on.
I think it's in we can pull it up if you want, but I think it's in the corner, the biggest parcel that's there. I think it's in the let's see, southeast corner of that. I think Dan, you might know.
There's a little bit of a swale or creek channel
Mhm.
there. Down in the-
Southeast corner?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And then just to clarify, our geologic assessment review only applies to high or very high landslide susceptibility. So this was only moderate, which means that portion of our code wouldn't apply.
Okay,
I'd like to move to approve the request.
second,
Is that Josh?
Mhm.
That's
Yeah.
me.
And Madeline seconded?
yes.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Now, does this require reading by title only or anything like?
No, that'll be your next meeting. We'll come back with an ordinance.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Let the record show that it's unanimous of those present. Okay. Next thing is a hearing 4.2, hearing for resolution number 23-11, adopting a supplemental budget for fiscal year 23-24. And Dan, do you want to give us the?
I think Paul is going to come up.
So 4.2, oh, here it is. So it's the purple. It moved up on the agenda.
Got it.
Okay, so this is our. Oh, Paula, I'm sorry. I said Dan, I said I didn't realize you were doing that. I'm sorry.
So this is our annual updating.
Yeah, we can't hear you.
Okay, sorry about that. Is that better? Okay, this is our annual updating of our budget, the supplemental budget. We have a few changes to different funds. I can just walk through them quickly. The general fund, we're requesting a $394,857 increase. It's primarily due to different contractual services, a vehicle purchase, and just some various happenings in the general fund. The Tourism Development Fund is a new fund that the council adopted in December of 2022. So this will allow us to move money to this new fund this budget year. The Local Improvement District, we did receive a payoff amount of $125,000, and we wanted to apply that to the loan that the money was derived from. The Electric Fund, this increase is primarily due to payroll expenses from the winter storms and outages. The Conservation Program received some additional money. That's money from BPA that we send out to the community. So there's an increase of $324,826 there. The water fund has a slight increase, and that's in association to their utility sales and transfers. The water plant improvement fund, that's one we talked about at your last meeting. We did the loan for. And this is because we're able to complete the seismic valve and what the tank rehabilitation program this year. So need to move the money into that fund. That's all there is.
Okay, do I hear a motion or any
I
discussion?
believe we have to open it. I don't know that anyone,
Oh.
we have to open this for a hearing.
Yes, does anyone wish to testify on this? Anyone on Zoom? Okay, if not, I'll leave it to the council.
Madam Mayor, I make a motion to approve resolution number 2311, adopting the supplemental budget for fiscal year 22-23.
Second.
Second.
Been moved by Madeline, seconded by Brian, that we approve resolution number 23-11. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous of those present. Okay, the next item is exemption to geologic assessment review for fire hazard reduction, meaning GORS. This will, Dana, I guess that's Dana. too.
I don't know which one. We had a deal that I would do the presentation.
Oh.
She'd prepare the sheet.
Okay,
This is, this has to do with gorse in our beachfront area, oceanfront area. Our code says, on the one hand, it says that if you're going to do vegetation removal, you've actually got to get a geotech report to do the vegetation removal on the bluff. There is an exemption to that for emergency response activities intended to reduce or eliminate an immediate danger to life, property, or flood or fire hazard. We wanted to let you know that staff's intent is that we grant exemptions to that geologic review requirement based on the fact that it is intended to eliminate fire danger. We are going to work with a geoprofessional. We'll do an RFP and get a blanket report on best practices for removing gorse on the bluff. So that's just a discussion only.
Right.
If anyone on the council has any questions with or problems with that, please let us know. We just want to let you know that that's what we intend to do. That's the interpretation of the code that staff's going to make.
okay. Anyone
Dan,
have-
what's the timeline?
The timeline on when that work's going to get done?
Well, when we're gonna get the report?
Oh, I imagine it'll be a couple, 3 months before it's
Okay.
done. Yeah.
All right, thank you.
You bet.
Any other questions? So this was just discussion only, so it doesn't take a vote. So is there anything on the consent agenda that anyone wishes to, wait a minute.
We have one more. We have one more item.
Sorry,
5.2.2.
possibility, it says possible sale of the city utilities.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. I put this on just so we could have a short discussion of the possibility of the sale of one or more of the city's 3 utilities. The base issue is really that it's obviously we have a system that relies on the voters to make decisions about rates. And I'm not going to talk, I can't talk in my position about the ballot measures that are coming up. But what I can say is that it's extremely difficult to run those utilities within the system that we have set up right now. I mean, the decisions that we're making are as much about what might be palatable to the voters as they are about how to responsibly run those utilities with an appropriate reserve, the kind of things that you would have if you were actually running them as a business. So I wanted to say that there are companies that exist simply to buy municipal water and sewer utilities. The city of Seward, Alaska is in the middle of a sale of its electric utility, which is slightly smaller than Bandon's for the sum of $25 million. Obviously, the advantages to our utilities are we get great service. We get great responsiveness and great service. So far, we have dedicated employees who turn out. As we all know from the windstorms this winter, Bandon got its power on a lot faster than a lot of other folks. We had folks working 36 hours in a row. If you have an outage and you call, our staff are all here in an outage. They all come here from home all hours of the day and answer phones for people, and everybody gets a call back. That wouldn't happen if we were part of some other larger utility, say Power or Coos Curry. So I think the request here, or at least the consensus, I guess this wouldn't be a resolution to be voted on, is that we go ahead and be allowed to take a look at that, take a look at what it would look like. Obviously, it's not a first choice, it's not a first resort, but that staff could go ahead and just take a look at what it might look like to sell one or more of those utilities.
Well,
I
depending
also-
on,
Oh,
go ahead. Depending on what happens next week, I think we're facing this in the future if those rate increases don't pass next week.
Does anyone in the audience have any questions about, you can ask us about the ballot measures, since we can talk about them up here. It's just that our employees can't talk about them. Probably already know what we're, you know what we're asking, and we're just hoping that people will support this. It's not an enviable thing. No one wants to have to go out. It's just hard to believe that when you think of all the increases that we've had lately, whether it's gas or a loaf of bread, that if you had to ask the voters and the customers every time you wanted to add another penny to something, it would, I mean, the entire economy would stop. Well, that's what happens here, is that for years, for over 20 years, we've been forced to do this, and it becomes more burdensome every year. And sometimes you just run out of steam, you run out of desire to know how to explain to the public how important it is. And even though right now in this month's election, we're not voting for rate setting authority. We haven't even gone back out again for that, but we need to. And I don't know how we get, so the public understands the need here. So does anyone have any questions? All right, then now we will go. Does anybody on the council have any comments or questions?
Do we have to make a motion to authorize staff to investigate?
No, I don't believe so, madam.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, let's look at anybody have anything on the consent agenda?
If not, I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second,
All right, just a second. I thought I had something. Oh, it's not a biggie. I just we've never changed the name from Citizen
CCI.
to CCI. I want us to continue to be the Citizen Involvement Committee until we decide we're going to change it. And so I see some of them are still, now they're calling it Community Involvement. And we didn't change it, and we haven't changed it. So let's at least keep it the same, okay? So anybody else? Madeline made the motion and or Josh made the motion. Josh made the motion to approve the consent agenda. Who
Yes.
seconded?
Yes.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous of those present. Now is the time for public comment. Oh, no, now is the time for, yes, public comment. I was thinking it was staff comment, public comment now. So anybody have anything to say? All right, now we have council mayor staff remarks.
I just have a quick thank you to everybody who came out this weekend. We did a city park cleanup day on Saturday. And we had almost 40 volunteers, and a special shout out to the boys baseball team who came out and spread gravel for 3 hours, which did not seem like a fun task, but they did it with a smile. So did lots of work. Everyone drive through City Park and check it out. It looks like the story walk is going to get installed. The bases got installed last week, and the next time we have nice weather, the things that go on the posts will be installed. And we also installed the second half of the disc golf course for the expanded 18 holes. So it's big couple weeks for the park.
Good, good. Shayla, Dan?
I just have a few things really quickly. This may come up, we may do this at a work session sometime soon. There's apparently now some new concern in the community about feeding crows. Recall that was an issue when we first passed the bird feeding ordinance because there are people who like to feed crows and wanted to be assured that crows were in fact songbirds and could be fed. That's correct. There are now some folks who are voicing objections to that. That's just a heads up. We may bring that up at a future work session. I will note this next Monday, but I want to let the council know that we've been carrying a fairly significant balance over in the state revenue sharing fund. I believe we have about 70,000 there now. I'm going to recommend that but we'll talk about it in more detail, that we grant some of that to the group of the pickleball players who are raising their own money to resurface that court as a multi-use court for both basketball and pickleball. There's some talk that what we ought to do is change those basketball hoops out so that they are regulation 10 feet. I think they're just 8-foot hoops right now. And that we take some of that money and also put it towards the renovation of the playground. We've got some new equipment coming. A little more money will help us get better equipment. And there's a significant cost that we're going to incur in pulling out all of that rubber and putting engineered wood in there. Thank you.
How much did they say that they need to raise the pickleball people?
17.
The total project cost is somewhere around 18. And so I think they've raised somewhere in the neighborhood of $3,500. So
Well,
far.
I know that 3,500 came from 100 Women Strong. Is that
Mhm.
the money they've raised?
Yeah, and then they have a few other small donations as well.
Okay.
Friends of Abandoned Parks has given them some funding.
So we propose not funding all of the rest of it, but making another donation in kind.
Sure. Hey, Brian?
Most of you know the mayor and I serve on Abandoned Historical Society board. And I just wanted for the record state that we lost a valued dear member of the board, Kathy Dornoff,
Yeah.
April 12th. And I can't tell you how valuable and important she was to the museum and the amount of work that she did for the museum. She's going to be dearly missed. That's all I've got.
Well, as you know, we have a new officer in Bandon, and I was stopped 2 or 3 weeks ago for not making a full stop. And this officer was up the street. I passed her. The officer was on the job talking to somebody else, and I got up to Franklin and 11th. Nobody was there. Took off, and she stopped me. But I'm not going to tell you whether I got a ticket or not. But I give her praise. She's doing a good job.
Sierra, you did a California stop?
I'm sorry.
You did a California stop?
My California, that's the third one I've been stopped for. But not recently. I'm hitting those brakes right now. Everybody be careful. She's on duty. She's very good. That's all I have.
Yes, do you have any? Madeline, do you have anything?
Yes, I just want to urge everyone that watches our council meetings or reads the coffee break this week for the ad that Brian and I put in. Really think hard before you vote no on these ballot measures. I've been accused of threatening to vote yes on selling our utilities this last week. And yeah, we've threatened in the past, but right now there's no other place to go. If we don't get this rate increase, then we have to entertain bids on selling the utilities. Thank you.
Thanks. Josh?
I'd just like to reinforce what Madeline said. That's all.
Okay, thank you. And I agree that we really need to have these ballot measures passed so that we can continue to operate our utilities as a business. It's really important. Sorry that my voice is so sad, but I guess John, you just missed out on public comment. Too bad, but we just talked about it. We're going to put it on we're going to have a work session where the issue is going to be on it of crows. Okay.
Did you need to come for paperwork on that?
No. Thank you, John. Okay, now we're going to adjourn to the urban renewal meeting. 2.0 approval of the joint city council and urban renewal minutes. Do I hear a motion?
I moved
So moved.
Been moved by Madeline, seconded by Josh to approve the minutes. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. I
Aye.
guess it's unanimous. All right, thank you. Okay, the action and discussion item is to award the contract for city abandoned urban renewal downtown streetscape and parking plan. And I'm sure there's probably some questions, and Dan kind of explained it quite well to me, so maybe he'll.
Sure, I'll take a start. First of all, I apologize for those who came to council last time. We really didn't do the footwork we needed to do before we brought it to you. The basic issue is this: the purpose of an urban renewal district is to make public investments that raise the value, the assessed value of private property. And we all invest in that, not just the city, but the overlapping taxing districts as well. They forego taxes during the period of time that the district is open. So the kind of deal you make with the community is, we're going to invest that money in a fashion that raises the tide and floats all boats. We've got about just under $1 million in District 1 right now. We have some options with that. One is to sit on it, continue to sit on it. We did build the parking lot last year and the EV charging. I'm convinced that was a great investment. Having been here when the Christmas lighting happened, that parking lot was full. I think it'll start to be full this summer. But we could sit on it. We could invest it without really a coordinated plan. Or we could come up with a plan or plans and then invest. So really question one was, should we take a look at the streetscape, the flow, how parking and everything works in downtown Bandon? Unfortunately, the proposals, and they all did this, they were made in response to our request for proposals, but they were made from offices in other parts of the state. They didn't know that we had just redone all of our street lamps. They don't know that trees don't do really well here. So there are some things in the proposals to which people might object. I think that's just a fact of life about how they came together. But if we decide to do it, there would be an extensive public process that would go in, and the city would ultimately decide, with the help of very talented, in my view, professionals, what, if anything, we would do, what we would recommend for facades, streetscape. I don't think any rational plan for Bandon would result in any reduced parking. There may be places where we could widen the sidewalk, maybe the north side of Second, possibly. And then as to the folks that we selected, there were a number of reasons. One is they were much less expensive than anyone else. But more importantly, they had great references and a phenomenal work product. I know I told the story, but I used to work in Oregon City, Oregon, and I would drive to Salem. When I drove to Salem, I would go through Canby. And Canby sits across about the downtown sits across about 4 railroad tracks from the highway. And eventually I started driving by and looking over and I'm going, wow, they're really doing a great job on that downtown. And eventually I went, I got to see what's over there. That's really cool looking. So I turned off. Well, folks that did that work are the folks who were the winning proposal for Bandon. They've done the work for Florence and all over the state. I talked to a woman who was the economic development director in Canby at the time. She was, and she's not, I worked with her at Clackamas County. She's not a person that's really effusive in her praise of anyone. She was really effusive in her praise of these folks. So obviously it is 65,000 is a good chunk of money. Maybe it's a little less if we don't do lighting and don't do some of these other things. But again, that district's got about $1 million. 6.5% might be a good amount to invest in planning. So our staff's recommendation is that we go ahead and approve this.
Well, I have one thing to say. I've physically witnessed the improvement in Elton and also in Sweet Home. And of course, those of us who've been to Florence, it's a gorgeous job. So they obviously do a very good job because I've seen 3 of their projects that have been completed.
Anyone have questions?
I have a couple questions.
Sure.
We can't get this project finished down here. How are they gonna go in and start ripping up stuff in Old Town and be able to get it finished in a timely manner So that everything's not torn apart for 6 to 8 months.
I don't think there's a project. My thought is there's gonna be a plan and a set of recommendations that may result in a bunch of projects, but I can't imagine doing them all. You'd never do them all at once.
No, but I'm just saying, if you got one block that's torn up, it makes everything else, I mean, you've got the rest of the highway out here fine, except for those 2 entrances down there look like
Right.
crap. And then now somebody's saying, well, maybe in July it'll be done?
Yeah.
Maybe.
That's what he
I mean,
said.
I got, and then some of the stuff they're talking about, with the pictures, all the bump outs and that. You know, there's a lot of people that get deliveries down there with big trucks. And all of a sudden, if the trucks can't get in there and they're told, hey, we'll meet you up at Ray's, haul a truck up here to pick it up. You know, that's gonna kind of tend to irritate some people.
Sure,
I'll probably be one of them.
sure. Well, I'd suggest you have some voice in what happens. Yeah.
I mean, and like I
Yeah.
said, and this is just for a plan. This isn't for any of the projects to be done.
Right.
And there's no like volunteer group that might, retired group that might come in and have some plans they could draw up, or, I mean, did we look at anything like that, or?
No. I mean, I think that's the choice, a choice the council needs to make is do we hire landscape architects and folks who've done these plans in other cities who probably have heard that. You know, the concerns that you just raised, I'm sure they heard those concerns in Florence and Sweet Home and Elkton and everywhere else. So,
I just want to
It
make sure
can be.
they heard them and just didn't say, forget it, we're doing what we want to do.
well, ultimately it's us. It's our plan, counselor. So they will make recommendations to us, you know, through a public process. And again, I think my friend, the economic development director in Canby, I know she would have raised any concern of the downtown folks. And if they'd messed up, she was all about economic development, much more than she was a beautiful downtown, and she's very happy with their work. So,
Dan,
yes,
it says the contract 66,210 and it does include lighting. So would the price of the contract go down because we don't need any lighting?
that's an option, or we could ask them to look at something else when we do the scoping. So the first thing happens, we'll have a big meeting with them to talk about issues like this. Like, are we gonna have bump outs? What about, you know, staging, whatever projects we design or they design or recommend, how they're gonna be staged to minimize disruption, et cetera, et cetera. It seems to me you do what you could in the winter here.
Right.
So do they have any plan or do they do anything about privately owned buildings that stand like an albatross in the middle of your community?
Well, they can make recommendations.
I mean, it's like no matter what we do, until the Lloyd's building, something happens to it. It's just such a huge, ugly eyesore, and they can make recommendations. And we could start more stringent enforcement, maybe. But I don't know if there's.
And we could do, of course, there's some of that we could do now. It wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility. And I don't know that I'd raise it, but that building could be purchased.
Yeah,
It's not an unusual thing for an urban renewal district to purchase a
I
piece of
know it.
property, demolish it, and then resell the property or reconvey the property. And what you do is you do what's called a development disposition agreement that says, we're going to give you this property, but you're going to do these following things. And there's going to be a bunch of money that sits in an account. And when you do those things, you get the money. If you don't do those things, we get the property back. So
I
there's ways to
I
do
wish
that.
we could look into something like that, because this has been 5 or 6 years and nothing's happened. And I don't know if anything's going to happen down there besides closing the restaurant. It's just such a detriment. But I think I agree that professionals, what they've done in these other communities certainly speaks well for their abilities.
Dan, can we
Yes.
also make them aware that we do have a hotel that's going in down there? So there's gonna be, needed to be street room, like Chris said, delivery trucks for the restaurants, yes, but I'm sure that the hotel's gonna need some room for delivery trucks also.
Yeah, sure. And that's one of the reasons that they've got traffic engineers as part of their team. So they've got KPFF and Sandow Engineering. So they've got traffic engineers. So it's not just architect designer types coming in. It's going to be traffic engineers and folks like that. And we've already talked to the hotel people about it. They're very interested and very excited about how they might coordinate. So.
Okay.
And it's just a shame that we don't have any, I mean, we can't be blamed for the mess that ODOT has left, right?
No,
I mean, because people keep asking me, even when you try to turn to go down to Chicago, you would think that somebody could come along and move those, they're almost in the, in the roadway. Somebody's gonna have a wreck down there, and who's gonna be responsible for that?
that's ridiculous.
It is, it's just a mess, and
As was the time it took to get the sidewalk, the crosswalk completed.
exactly.
yeah.
So, but ODOT won't be having anything to do with what we're trying to do
Nothing.
here. Okay,
It's almost like they got holding a grudge.
yeah, like we didn't do the parkway, is that what you
Oh,
mean?
yeah, maybe that's what it was. I get a little upset about that.
Oh, no, not the parkway. Oh, that was earlier. That's along road
Road
diet.
diet.
Yeah, we went from turning down their parkway to turning down the road diet, and now this is their response. Yeah. Do I hear a
I
motion?
make a
on this?
motion to award contract to DLA Incorporated.
Second,
It's been moved and seconded to award the contract for the streetscape work. All in favor?
Aye.
aye.
Let the record show that the motion passed of those present.
Oh, I see a
right.
hand up there.
What?
I see a hand up there.
It's Margaret clapping.
Oh, Margaret's clapping. Oh, Margaret's clapping.
Thank you, Margaret.
All
You're
right.
welcome.
I guess that adjourns the meeting.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Did you get a ticket?